All right, we are going live, everybody. All right, as we wait, as we wait. All right, thanks for joining. Let me know if you have a fantasy question, everybody. Hopefully, I can help out a little bit. Hi, C. Hicks. Hi, Harlan, Julian, Quinn, Slithering Cobra. Jennings or Brian Thomas Jr. asks Watumbo. All right, well, let's see. Oh God, Tyler, pick one. You give me 17 names. Uh, Jennings or Brian Thomas Jr. Well, let's see. I know Jennings did okay. Thomas was not very consistent. So let me look up Jennings. Jennings got 12.8 points last week. That's if you round up, it's 13 essentially, and that's in a 10-team fantasy league. That's really what you want. So he did pretty good. He's highly inconsistent, and they did use Debo. Now I know that Pearsall was used a lot too, and then Brian Thomas Jr. had 2.2. The thing with Brian Thomas Jr. is if Mac Jones is the quarterback, I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. has a lot of value. I think Trevor Lawrence has to come back as the quarterback for Brian Thomas to have significant value. So in the short term, I would think about starting Jennings over Brian Thomas Jr. because of that fact. As long as Mac Jones is the quarterback with Jacksonville, I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to have a lot of value. So, but that may change as the week goes on. Like, Trevor Lawrence could play. Let's see here. Yeah, while it is. Hey, Nathaniel. Hey, what? No, thanks for joining. The Eagles Commanders game will be intense. Yes, it will. Hey, Daniel Berry Sports. Thanks for joining. All right, Tyler Good, 802. Nico Evans, Debo, and Puka. Pick one to trade. Need another running back besides Mixon, 12-person league. Okay, well, I think if you wanted to do a one-for-one, like a wide receiver for a running back, Tyler Good, 802, you could probably do Nico or Puka for a running back, like one-to-one trade. Okay. Now, if you wanted to upgrade a little bit more, you might, you could maybe throw Puka out with one of your bench running backs, maybe, and you can get an upgrade. Like maybe you trade Puka and let's see here, maybe Puka and Stevenson, or Puka and Bucky Irving, or Rashad White, and maybe you could get like a Mick. Well, you said you have Mixon, but maybe a Walker or maybe a Kyron Williams or somebody like that. Or you could think about, if there's another team that doesn't have wide receivers, you could do an Evans and Debo for like a Walker, or maybe you could even push for like a Saquon Barkley out of that whole thing. What no on YouTube says, do you like Chiefs or Bengals? Well, I'm from Missouri. I get a lot of Chiefs games, so I'm a little bit of a homer that way. But I'd say that I probably like the Chiefs. And the main reason why is I really find it very fun to watch Patrick Mahomes play quarterback. I know Joe Burrow, I enjoy his play tremendously, but it always looks like, Patrick Mahomes is having fun, just sort of his shuffle passes. He was doing it to Kareem Hunt last time. He did it to Kelsey the game before. It just looks like he's having a lot of fun. And I would, it just reminds me kind of being a kid growing up playing in the park, or, in somebody's big backyard playing a little football and having fun with it. I mean, I wasn't really a good football player ever, but it was just fun to play sometimes. And I've said this before, but even like when it's snowing outside and you get with like your friends in like seventh grade or sixth grade and you play tackle or something like that, it's a lot of fun. It really was. It was a lot of fun because nobody was big enough to really hurt somebody else, and you could tackle someone in the snow, and it just was a lot of fun. So, all right, let's see. As it says up on the board, if you follow me right now, we're all caught up on gifts. Okay, so somebody just followed me. Who is it? Just followed you. Okay, 562 Edward just followed me. Okay, Henry and Malik Neighbors for Bijan Robinson and Hill. Derrick Henry and Malik Neighbors for Bijan Robinson and Tyreek Hill. Well, I mean, Henry and Robinson, Henry might have more of a name, but Robinson's been putting up very good points like the last 5 weeks. So they're pretty much in the same conversation. Now, Malik versus Hill, it's probably a wash, really. I have to say, if anybody watched me last night, I'm surprised you guys aren't mad. On paper, I said this last night a bazillion times. Don't forget to hit that like. And if you're on TikTok, don't forget to hit follow. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe. It was just a fun tackle match. Yeah. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe so you know when I'm on TikTok, hit that follow button, keep hitting that like button. Let's get it up to 1,000 likes. But okay, so 562 Edward, the way I look at it is, my guess is you're trading Henry and Malik Neighbors for Bijan Robinson and Hill. My question is how does this make you better? Because you're trading a running back, a really good running back, for a wide receiver that hasn't been very strong this year so much. In the case of Malik Neighbors, rather, what you're doing is, earlier in the season he was putting up 20 points, but now he can't really get over like 10 or 11 points. And in a 10-team fantasy, you want to get your wide receivers and running backs up to. You were a liar. You said Tua would. Yeah, you know what? I thought on paper. Hold on. On paper, I thought Tua and Tyreek would get a lot of points because the Rams defense against quarterbacks and the Rams defense against wide receivers was there for the taking. They were 25th against quarterbacks and 27 against wide receivers. I think something might be wrong with Tua. Like I don't know if he's completely healthy or not. I don't know what's going on exactly right there. I don't have any information, so I can't tell you anything about it, but I will say, and I'm wearing the wrong shirt because everything I'm doing is, I got to put a green screen behind me on YouTube because I'm falling in. But with Hill, he's just not putting up the numbers. And so 562 Edward, yes, you're giving up Malik, who has not put up the numbers he did earlier in the year, and Henry, who's still strong, although maybe he had a weaker week this week. God. And then you're getting Bijan, who's been very strong, and Hill, who could get better. Go Birds. Yes, go Eagles. I'm guessing you're saying, DeGray. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget to follow on TikTok. The thing about it is, I don't know how it makes your team better, because Malik is someone I wouldn't really start right now because he's not putting up the number. And Hill is someone I wouldn't start. That game last night, Hill and Tyreek, well, Hill and Tua rather, I feel like they should have had bigger games. They should have had bigger games. Yes, the Saints had a big win on YouTube. You're exactly right about that. So my first question is, 562, how does this make your team better? Because you're really trading sort of the same running backs. You're swapping them out, and then you're swapping out Malik for Hill. Maybe you're a Robinson fan, maybe you're a Miami fan, whatever it might be. I just don't know that, you might not, like it's a trade just to make a trade almost. And so my question always is how's this going to make you better? And you're getting Hill, but he may not really be an improvement over Neighbors. And I just want to make sure that you understand that. And I'm kind of inquisitive to find out why you want to make that trade. Hey, Colin, thanks for joining. I'm just looking. Should I get Pickens instead? Yeah, I would get Pickens instead. Yeah, Pickens has a lot more value than Malik Neighbors. He has a lot more value. I mean, he put up what 18 points, 18, 9, and 19 the last 3 weeks. That 8, I'm not so in love with, but with Russell Wilson in at quarterback, he's doing a lot better. Hey, Colin, you'll move next on the list. Thank you very much for the rose. So yeah, so that's the way I see it. I mean, yeah, I would go for Pickens. I would try to get an upgrade because otherwise it really is the same for the same in many, many ways. Because I would not advocate after this past Monday starting Tua or starting Tyreek until they prove that they can put up points that they should be putting up. And as some of you know who might have returned or might follow me, I always say that in a 10-team fantasy league, you want your quarterbacks to have 19 or over. You want your wide receivers, running backs to have 13 or over. Your flex to have 13 or over. Your kicker and defense to have 10 or over, and your tight end to have 7. I think that puts you at, I don't know, I did the math last night, but I was kind of tired. I think that puts you at like 102 points if you just did the minimum there, something like that. So you got to figure that I'm saying minimum, but they'll, like a wide receiver, the minimum's 13. They might get 15. They might get 16. They might get 17. So it'll put you over and you'll be competitive week in and week out. So yeah, I would ask for Pickens instead. All right, Colin, let's go look at your question since you were very kind and sent a gift. I'm not Colin. Just got the number 1 gift badge. Thank you. Gift badge rather. Colin. Okay. Trade Dobbins and Dell for Jones and MHJ. Well, here's the thing with Dell and MHJ. Trade. Okay, so you're trading Dell to get MHJ. I do think that there's a good chance that Dell or MHJ could have a little bit more value than Dell. Dell's sort of been, he has a good week and then he doesn't. And then, once Nico comes back, it's like, is CJ Stroud really even going to pass to him? I don't think Dell has stepped into that role almost the way Xavier Worthy didn't step into the number 1 role with Kansas City, which forced them to get Hopkins in Kansas City. So, but let me look up Dobbins and Jones points wise. I do. What I'm saying is, if you're getting Jones and MHJ, I think MHJ is a little bit better than Dell, just because he had a good week last week. But let me look up Dobbins and compare him to Jones real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is questionable. That's a short-term issue. But Aaron Jones, okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is a little bit of an issue. Hold on 1 second. What am I looking at? Hold on 1 second. I did something really dumb. That's always the case though. Okay. So if we look at J.K. Dobbins and we go back 4 weeks, that's what I like to do in comparisons. He had 7, 23, 14, 8. So Dobbins went over 13 2 of the last 3 weeks. And the 1 week he had 23 points, which is great against Cleveland, which is like, as I always say, an A++. Hold on. And so you look at Aaron Jones, he had 11, 10, 10, 19. In the last 4 weeks, Aaron Jones has only gone over 13 points once, and that was 4 weeks ago that he did. The thing about Aaron Jones is he's only scored 3 touchdowns this year. And Dobbins has had 3 in the last 4 weeks. They both catch the ball out of the backfield. I'm just saying though, like with Jones, in the short term, you got to worry about whether or not he's going to be able to play. But Jones is not necessarily an upgrade from Dobbins. I would actually say that if we go back 2 weeks, Dobbins had 23.5 2 weeks ago. Then he had 7, and Jones has had 10 and 11. And unless, Colin, you're in a 12 team or 14 team league, 11 points isn't really going to help you out. You're going to need 13, 14 points from your running backs. So in my analysis, if you will, is, I see Jones as a lesser running back than Dobbins, not by a ton. Hey, Josh, thanks for joining. I'll put you down on the list. Thank you very much for the rose. But the way I look at it is Dobbins is better than Jones. MHJ is a little bit better than Dell. So if anything, and that's, hey, smiley face teeth guy. Haven't seen you in a couple days. I think you're the same person, right? That was the same logo as before. Glad to have you on board. Glad to see you. All right. That's great. I love when you're around. Lots of good questions. All right. So I don't think it's a great trade. I don't think Jones is putting up numbers that are better than Dobbins. And for that reason, I'm not sure that you win that trade. It's either equal because Dobbins is a little bit better and MHJ is a little bit better. Or I could even say that somebody might say, Dobbins is better than Jones. And yeah, and that offense, or Sam Darnold as a quarterback, I don't know, man. He has not put up a lot of points lately at all. I don't love the way he's playing right now. So yeah, I would say it's even at best. You lose at worst, Colin. I hate to bring bad news, but that's how I'm reading that right now. Okay, let me see if Josh has a question. You guys all know the drill so well. Okay. Colin, thank you for the rose again. Thank you for that rose. Logan, Jake, what am I? Oh, Patrick, thank you for the rose. Patrick, I'm sorry that I did not see that. I apologize. Sorry about that. My other question, too, was trade BTJ and Stevenson for Adams. Alan, hey, you'll be after Patrick. Thank you, Alan. I'm just getting done with, hey, smiley face. Yes, I got to find Josh, but then Colin had another question. Trade BTJ and Stevenson for Adams, Davante Adams, and Rashad White. Hey, Keybert, Keybertit. Thank you very much. That was a first-time gift on this channel, so thank you very much. Okay, so BTJ and Stevenson. Stevenson put up some really big points the last couple of weeks, but I don't think he's that good. So, and most of that was because he had touchdowns. He didn't put up a lot of yardage, and BTJ doesn't have much value with Trevor Lawrence out of the game. So in the short term, you're not going to be able to start him at all. He's just sitting on your bench. So you're trading him for Davante Adams. Now, Davante Adams, dare I say that he could be a little overrated. I mean, he's only really had, let me double check, but I think he's only had one good week out of the last 3 since the trade. He had 6, 18, and 7. The first week with the Jets, he had 7, then 18, then 6. That Jets offense is atrocious. There's a lot of offenses right now that I think aren't really clicking real well. I think Miami, I don't care what anybody says. I think not only is something wrong with their offense in Miami, I think there's something going on with Tua. He was not effective last night, and there really was no reason for that to happen. I think Rashad White is really good right now. So I like that. Hey, Keybertit, thank you very much. What is that? A dolphin. Hey, cool. I think getting White is a good thing. He puts up points. Thank you again. That's a tiny diny. Took me a couple times to be able to say that because it embarrassed me to say it, but I can finally say it. But White comes out of the backfield and catches the ball, and he seems to be putting up more points than Bucky Irving, who he has to fight, to get touches and things. So I think I don't love the Adams situation. Okay, but BTJ is a little is a little inconsistent. Adams is inconsistent. Hey, smiley face with the teeth. Yes, let me finish with Colin, I promise. BTJ without Trevor Lawrence, so in the short term doesn't have much value. Stevenson, I think, is inconsistent at best. I think the best player out of all four of these. Hey, J96, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate it. I think that my other question too was okay. BTJ can get back to that if Trevor Lawrence comes back. Stevenson's going to surprise you, but it's hard for me to recommend playing Stevenson unless you really need somebody because he is so inconsistent and his points really rely on him scoring touchdowns. And in the 2 weeks prior to last week, it was 2 touchdowns. So he got 19.9 points, he got 22 points, but 12 of those points both weeks were from touchdowns. And then he doesn't get them and he doesn't have much value. I just don't like the Adams portion of that. Okay. All right. Hey, look at that title gifter. Thank you, Keybert. All right. Let me look for Josh smiley face and I'll be going around. Keybert, I'm going to get to you. I promise. Okay. Pick 2. All right. I'm all over the map, aren't I? Alan is here. I got Alan down. Let me just see real quick. I just want to make sure that I didn't skip over Josh. Sometimes Josh comes in, I believe, and doesn't have a question. Josh. Okay, I don't see Josh. So I'm going to go to smiley face. Smiley face. We're going through these hopefully fairly quickly. Okay, Knicks. Hold on. Knicks versus Falcons or Daniels versus Eagles. Knicks has outscored Daniels past 2 weeks. Yeah. And I would say Falcons against quarterbacks is probably a more favorable than the Eagles, but let me double check. The Eagles against quarterbacks are number 2 hardest. So that's not going to be good for Daniels this week. Falcons are, I don't know why I'm yelling, guys. I'm really talking loud tonight. I apologize if it's bothersome. All right. Someone says on YouTube that I am full of something. You are awesome. I'll put you in timeout, though. The Falcons are tied for 23rd, so it's much more favorable, smiley face with the teeth, for the Falcons, for Knicks to go up against the Falcons. Plus, Cortland Sutton put up some quality points again last week against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have a really good defense. Now, you can pass against them, but they have a good defense overall, put a lot of pressure on, on the quarterback and such. So I really think you're right on. I would go with Knicks this week based on the matchups, and you're right about Daniels. He's not putting the points up that he was at some point. Okay, people on YouTube are just going crazy. All right, so smiley face with the teeth. I'm thinking that might be the questions, but I'll keep scrolling. Patrick will go to you next. I just go in order. I'm sorry, Qbert. I know that you gifted a lot, but I try to just go. And I know SFS. I'm sorry, J96. I will get to you as well because I know you became a subscriber tonight, and thank you for that. All right, we're going to Patrick. Okay, let me just see if I can find Patrick real quick. Patrick. Okay, Patrick, do you think I should sell Chuba and who for? Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. There is some speculation that Jonathan Brooks will take away some of Chuba's carries when Jonathan Brooks finally plays in a game. He hasn't played in a game over they've been speculating about him for the last 2 weeks, I would say, and he hasn't played in a game. So right now, I think you could probably get, let me think. For Chuba, I think you could get Puka. I think you could maybe get, well, I mean, it depends on what you want. I'm assuming you don't want running back for running back, but you could probably get a Puka or a Cup. I don't know if somebody would do a Chuba for Nico. The only reason why I say that is because Nico has been injured, so there might be something to that. Let me see if I can get this. So I'm not so, it looks so goofy on YouTube. You could get Garrett Wilson might be a step down, and that, like I said, that offense with the Jets is awful. I wouldn't do Jaden Reed with Green Bay. Don't do him. You know, I wouldn't do Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's not consistent. You could maybe get like you could maybe think about getting like two like trade if you needed wide receivers, Patrick. You could maybe trade Chuba for like two decent wide receivers that might have smaller value now, like Cedric Tillman with Cleveland. Hey, Beto, thanks for joining tonight and all the lightning bolts. Appreciate it. So you could hey Mike, you'll be after Beto. All right, great. I'm trying to think who else you might be able to get. Let's see. You could maybe try. I'm just thinking here. Hold on one second. And then after Patrick will be Allen. After Allen will be Key Burtit. Okay, you could maybe, like, for instance, you could maybe try. Well, see, I don't know if Quentin Johnston is a little too suspect, but you could maybe try like Quentin Johnston and like Cedric Tillman with the Browns, so you get two wide receivers for Chuba. But Chuba's not like an elite running back, but you could get two for him, but it might not be two that you always want to start. But you could, if you want to do straight up, you could do J.K. Dobbins probably for Chuba, or you could try well, Aaron Jones, I just looked up. He hasn't been doing so well. You could maybe try someone like a Walker or a Mixon, maybe. I don't think anybody. I don't think Kyron would go. You could maybe do Chuba for Rashad White and like a Cedric Tillman with the Browns or something like that. Rashad's been putting up decent points the last few weeks, so you could do that. So. All right, Patrick, I hope I helped you out there. All right, Alan, you're up, Alan. Thank you. Okay, trade CD for AJ Brown, or who can I get for CD? If you can get AJ Brown for CD, I would do it in a heartbeat because Alan CD doesn't have any value right now, and that's the problem. He has no quarterback, and Dak had season-ending surgery tonight or today or yesterday. I forget what it said, but because of that, they you know, it's going to be Cooper Rush, and I don't think CD is going to have any value. So whatever you can get for him, get the most for him. I would try AJ Brown. They may balk at that. You might have to go down to like Puka and hey Patrick, thank you for the ring. You might have to go back Puka, Cup, Cortland Sutton. I mean, you might have to go down a few rungs for that. Oh, thank you, Alan, for the rose. All right. I hope I helped with that. You got to kind of put them out there. And if there's somebody in your league, sometimes leagues, there's one or two guys or team owners, men or women or whatever it is, that maybe don't follow the NFL as well as some other people's. So I'm 5-5 in a $50 league. That's pretty good, Anthony Estrada. So the way I look at it is, if you can find one of those people, one of those owners. Okay, Mike, I will be getting to you in just a second. I have Key, Burtit, J96, Beto, and Mike. All right. Yeah, you got to just try to just put trade options out there and see who bites, and then you might want to target first some of the people that don't follow football as much. All right. Key Burtit is next. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Alan, for the roses. And just say Gilbert. Oh, just say Gilbert. Okay. Sorry. I'm looking for your question. I'm sure you sent a question. Hold on. I have to do this as I complain every night. I know I don't want to be a whiner, but I complain. Okay, wait. Where is Gilbert's Mike? Oh, boy, okay. Okay. Gilbert, I'm looking for you. I promise I'm using my thumbs. Don't forget to hit that like button, guys, on YouTube and TikTok. I'm just scrolling on my phone on TikTok because TikTok sort of forced me to use my phone because the computer I got. All right. Just say, Gilbert, it's okay. Okay, I'm not seeing your question, though. Where are we at here? Hey, John. Oh, John, you'll be after Mike. Okay, I'm looking for Gilbert. Where is Gilbert? Come on, Gilbert. YouTube guys, once I settle up with all the gifters on TikTok, I'll go over to YouTube. I promise. Yes, Nathaniel, I have a dog. Her name is Daisy. Okay. Gilbert. Gilbert, I'm not. Okay, hold on. Maybe I'm getting closer here. Wow, there was a lot of chat going on. Where are we at here? Mm, this is painful. I know it's eating up a lot of time. Okay. Gilbert, just resend your question, please, because for whatever reason. Okay. Nico for Kyren and Malik Neighbors. Okay. I'm assuming. Oh, I see what it. Gilbert. Okay, I see it. Okay. Okay. Nico. I'm assuming you're trading Nico and you're getting Kyren and Malik Neighbors. Getting Kyren is fantastic. Okay. It's almost worth doing the deal right there. Nico is probably a little bit more elite because before his injury, he did lead the NFL in yards receiving. So there's that. And Kyren is fantastic, but I sort of place him underneath Saquon in no order. Saquon, Derrick Henry, Bijan, and then Kyren is kind of that next guy in line there. The one problem I have with you getting Malik Neighbors, I think Nico and Kyren is great, and Nico is an elite wide receiver. Kyren is not. He puts up great numbers, but not quite elite like Bijan is. The one thing to think about is Malik Neighbors is not putting up the numbers he was putting up earlier in the season, so that is completely hurting him. And actually in a 10-team league, and I say this all the time, Gilbert, you you won't even want to start Malik Neighbors if you make this trade because he's putting up 10 or under points. In a 10-team league, you want your wide receiver or running back to get you at least 13 points. He's not even getting you that. All right. So that's the one caveat. If there's a way to get somebody else, or if you don't need a wide receiver and you were just going to put him on your bench and wait, and see if he could get better. I keep talking about bad offenses like the Jets. I think the Giants with Daniel Jones has a bad offense. I just, you don't know what you're going to get some days when they're out there. And I'm still a little boggled how Malik Neighbors was putting up 20 points. He gets injured, and now he can't really get over 11. So they're doing something different, and Slayton isn't even in all these games. I just think Daniel Jones is not very consistent. He's not a high-quality quarterback, and it shows. I mean, literally, I would not recommend that you start Malik Neighbors this coming week. And it doesn't even necessarily matter who he plays because he can't get 13 or 14 points. He hasn't done that since he's gotten healthy. All right. Thank you, Gilbert, for that. All right. I got to go with J96, new subscriber. Thank you very much for that. I'm sorry to make you wait, but I had this thing. I just want to go in order. So I apologize. I'll have to put you up on the board. Thank you, J96. Now I got to scroll through here, unfortunately, and find it. I wish I could just work on my computer, but I don't get as many views when I'm on my computer, unfortunately. So, all right, let's see. Where is J96? J90. I know you've been waiting and you were super awesome to subscribe, and I appreciate that. You will take priority moving forward if you subscribe It's like you sent me a gift. Unfortunately, there was a ton of other people that sent gifts just before you did that. So, all right, pick two: Stevenson, Tillman, or Sutton. All right. Well, Stevenson, J96, his points were really buoyed by the fact that 2 and 3 weeks ago he scored 2 touchdowns, and so 12 of his points came on touchdowns. That's not the case. That wasn't the case last week, and obviously he didn't put up a lot of points. And Tillman had a bye last week. They go against New Orleans. That should be a pretty good matchup for them, even though, they're not a great offense. But let me just look up Cleveland, the Browns against wide receivers real quick. They're 31st out of 32. So I would definitely do Tillman. Now let me look up Sutton. All right, Cortland Sutton. I mean, he had the last 3 weeks, he's been great. 16, 19, 13. He's gotten over 13 points. He's had over 70 yards. 3 weeks ago, 100 yards receiving. 2 weeks ago, 122. Last week, 70. He had 1 touchdown last week. Yeah, I mean, and they go up against Atlanta. Let's just look at Atlanta versus wide receivers. I don't think, yeah, Atlanta's 27. Atlanta's 27. And like I said, Tillman goes against the Saints. What did I say the Saints were? The Saints were 20th. So yeah, I would go Tillman and Sutton. I don't think Stevenson, especially that offense. Well, let me just double check here. Let me see if there's anything about his health or anything with Stevenson, because I haven't looked him up. Okay, let's see. Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, they go up against the Rams. The Rams are a little bit tougher against the run than they are against the pass. So yeah, I would go Tillman and Sutton most definitely moving forward for the weekend. J96. Those are the two that I would go with. They have favorable matchups, and I think Stevenson is a little inconsistent right now. I mean, I know he had 22 and 19, but that was really buoyed, like I said, because he scored 2 touchdowns in those games. He didn't have a touchdown this last game. He had 74 yards rushing and 3 yards receiving. The other weeks, he didn't even have over 50 in any one category, but the 2 touchdowns is what made his numbers so high. And I don't think that's a good way to go moving forward. So, hey, Beto, yes, you are next. And J96, since you're a subscriber, you can send me a DM and any other questions that you have. You have me 7 days a week. I won't say 24/7 because I do sleep, but you'll get me in the mornings and things like that. All right, let's see what Beto has. I think Beto had a question. Beto. Okay, Beto sent something again. Since I have to scroll with my thumbs, I take forever. Okay, Beto. DK or Sutton for this week? Okay. Well, I just looked up Sutton. He has a good matchup. Atlanta against wide receivers. As I said, I'm just double checking. They're 27th out of 32. So that's a great matchup. Let me look up Sutton real quick while we're thinking of it. The one thing with Sutton is, since he was injured, always in the back of my head is, DK Metcalf. That's what I meant, not Sutton. When DK Metcalf, since he was injured, okay, he's still questionable. All right, let's see what it says. Head coach said Monday that he expects Metcalf to practice Wednesday. Okay, so if he practices Wednesday, there's a good chance he's probably going to play this weekend. So that's good to know. And they go up against San Francisco. San Francisco against wide receivers. Hey, Eitan, how are you? San Francisco is number 3 against wide receivers. San Francisco is. Yeah, probably because of last night, actually, because they weren't that high. Well, it was the Rams. What am I thinking of? Yeah, it was the Rams. The San Francisco is number 3, so DK does not have a good matchup. Sutton does a much better matchup, 27 out of 32. So Beto, I would start Sutton based on the matchups alone. Based on the matchups alone, I would start Sutton. All right, next we have Mike. Thank you, Beto. Thank you for all your support as well. And if you have anything else, please go ahead and send me the DM. All right. Let's see here. Mike. Okay. Mike Santa Rose. I'm seeing that. Where is Mike? Mike. Okay. Start Kyle Pitts or Mark Andrews. I have Zay Flowers starting. Okay. Andrews or Pitts. Well, we know that. Oh, who's going against Atlanta? We know that Pitts then is going up against Denver. Denver against the tight end. I mean, they have a good secondary. Let's just see. They're 15th. Denver's 15th against tight ends. And what did I? Come on. Andrews. Ooh, against Pittsburgh, huh? Pittsburgh is 12th, and the Broncos are 15th. Ooh, so Andrews goes up against Pittsburgh. Yeah, let me just Andrews and Pitts. I know Pitts did not have a good week last week compared to what he was doing before that. So, okay. Yeah, Pitts had 7.5 points. He had 1.6 before that, but maybe if I dig deeper and I don't want to take up 17 minutes, maybe he got injured 2 games ago. Then he had 23-10. So, okay. So that's Pitts. Andrews, he had 15-3, 12-18. They go up against Pittsburgh. It's basically Pittsburgh and what did I say? The Broncos. And Pittsburgh's 12, the Broncos are 15. And the difference is, believe it or not, the Steelers average points, fantasy points for tight ends. They average 6.2. The Broncos average 6.6. So statistically speaking, it's almost a dead heat, really. So the way I look at it is then we got to go by sort of, Pitts has had 2 not so good weeks. Now, he's had 10, 23, 1.6, and 7.5. In my little recipe of a 10-team league, he got over 7 because tight ends get over 7, and he did that last week. So he's gotten over 7 3 of the last 4 weeks, and Andrews has gotten over 3 of the last 4 weeks, but Andrews has 30, 45, 30, 45, say 49, and 33, 43. And Pitts has like 43 points as opposed to Andrews' 49 points. So I'm leaning towards Andrews as the better pick. He has a few more points in the last 4 weeks, which would come to about 1.5 more points on average than Kyle Pitts. So coming from a tight end, that's relatively significant. They don't put up a lot of numbers. So I would go with Mark Andrews, and he's been a little bit more consistent over the last, let's see, definitely 4 weeks, but like the last 5 weeks, he's had 14, 18, 12, 3.6 against Denver, and then 15. And if it's any indication, Denver against Mark Andrews only had 3.6, and that's who Pitts plays, right? Denver. Yeah. So he might have a tough day. So I would go with Andrews. Yeah. Thank you for that, Mike. All right, John, you're next. John, out of CD Wilson Hill. Oh, out of CD Wilson Hill, Henry, Bijan, and Hall, who do I start? Okay, that's a lot to take in. I wouldn't start CD. He doesn't have any value. Wilson, you're talking Garrett Wilson. I'm just assuming you're going Garrett Wilson. The last time someone put Wilson up, I was thinking Russell Wilson. Garrett Wilson. Okay, so we have Garrett Wilson. We have Tyreek Hill. I would say CD and Hill I put aside. I would start Bijan. I would start Henry. Let me look up Wilson's points. Like CD and Hill, I'm not sure that I would start. I don't think CD has any value. I think Cooper Rush is not so good as a quarterback. I try not to be mean. I try to be above board and I don't want to make fun of people. I just don't think Cooper Rush is, that guy in Dallas. He's not going to take over Dak's job the rest of this year. Wilson could have value. The reason why I don't like Hall, and I have him on one of my teams, I think just one, thank God, he's very inconsistent. Earlier in the season, midway through the season, he was getting 13, 14 points. Now he's getting like 6 or 7 or 8. Okay. And so I can't say, oh, yeah, this is the week that Hall's going to do. I mean, it's been this way for 3 or 4 weeks with Hall. I don't think it's there. That's an offense that's bad. The Giants' offense, I'm very skeptical of. Miami's offense, I'm skeptical of. That's why I said I wouldn't start Hill. I wouldn't start CD. I wouldn't start Hall. I would start Henry and Bijan, and I need to look up Wilson and how he did. Now, you might say, oh, well, he plays for the Jets. But if you looked at it at least a week or two ago, Wilson was the only one putting up points. And I think that was because, here's the thing with Wilson, okay? From week 5 to week 10, 22, 20, 10.6, 13.8, 25.5, and 6.6. They had the 6.6. They played horribly. They did not look good at all. They play Indianapolis, and I think that, well, not that I think. Let me just look up Indianapolis against the pass. They're 19 out of 32. So, a lot of teams play Indianapolis very well. And that's why I would go with Garrett Wilson, because he is putting up points. Like, as a comparison, let me just call up Hall real quick and go through his points over the similar period of time. Okay, I'm just going back, I'll go back 6 weeks or so. Going backwards, a week ago, 10, 9, 9, 23, 19, 5, 2.8. So in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in the last 7 weeks, he's only gotten over 13 points 2 of those 7 weeks. Now he did well. He got a 23. That's 10 over, and he got 19. But he got 2.8, 5.2, 9, 9, 10, and in the 10-team league, John, unless you're in like a 14-team league, I wouldn't even think about starting Hall right now. He's not showing me anything. I'll look up though Indianapolis against the run. Maybe there's something there. They're 16th against the run. They give up about 18.3 points, and against the pass, they give up about 21 points. And that's where I think Garrett Wilson actually could get you some points, because Rodgers does throw to him. So I'm leaning that way. Hey, Brody, thank you for the rose. I appreciate it. You will go next. Don't forget, everyone, I've had so many gifts that I've been going through those. Don't forget to hit that follow button. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And then if you hit follow on TikTok. So follow on TikTok so you know when I'm live. Hit that like button on TikTok. You can hit it a bunch. We have, wow, is that 5,000? That's great. And then on YouTube, we have just a few people on, but if I think I know a couple of them. They're good people, but and Aton, real quick, I don't know that I would start Xavier Worthy. I just think Xavier Worthy doesn't have much value anymore. I'll look up Noah Brown in a second. Let me jump to Brody real quick because he just gifted. Oh, and Ryder's here. Ryder sent. I'm sorry, Ryder. I didn't see that. Sometimes I'm moving my head around. I wish I didn't have to do that. All right. Brody. Where is Brody's question? Brody. Lego Franklin's here. Don't forget, guys, hit that follow button on TikTok. If you want to subscribe, you can basically DM me on TikTok anytime if you subscribe, and get fantasy insight, thoughts, all that kind of good stuff. Okay, Brody. All right, let's see. I'm not seeing Brody's question. Let me look a little bit more. Zwick spammed me a little bit, so I have to scroll through them. No big deal, though. A lot of people spam me, but it's just, since I have to do this on my phone, I know I keep complaining about that. I really am annoyed, though. I bought a computer that is Microsoft compatible. There's Ryder. Okay, Brody. Okay, Ryder, hold on one second. I just found Brody's. Trade away Marvin Harrison Jr., Neighbors, and Jacobs for Hubbard and Nacua. I have AJ starting, and that's, I'm assuming you meant it. That's, all right. So you have AJ Brown. Trade away Marvin Harrison and Neighbors and Jacobs for Hubbard and Nacua. Okay, well, Jacobs for Hubbard. Let's look that up real quick. That might be closer than I think. Oh, the winner of the, I don't know. What do you want it to be, Nathaniel? Maybe cards or golf balls? What do you think? I can always get golf balls for everybody. Ryder, thank you very much, Ryder. I will get to you in just 1 second. Let's look up Jacobs and Hubbard because I don't know what the difference is between them, like data-wise, like how close they are. Okay, Chuba Hubbard 22, 28, 11, 12.8. Not bad, a little inconsistent. Josh Jacobs 11, 25, 17, 10, 15. Ooh. Dare I say that Josh Jacobs might be a little bit more consistent. You know, in the last 4 weeks, he's only gotten over 13 2 of the 4 times. Chuba he's gotten over 2 of the times in the last 4 weeks. But Chuba has, okay, Hubbard, Brody, here's the thing. Hubbard for the last 2 weeks has put up really good numbers, 20 and 22 points, respectively, okay? And he, he's put up 25 points earlier in the year. He got a little inconsistent there week 7 and 8. In a 10-team league, you want your wide receiver or your running backs rather to get you at least 13 or more points. The thing with Chuba is, yes, he can be a little inconsistent. The other thing about Chuba that I want to make sure that you know is there is speculation that he's going to lose some touches to Jonathan Brooks in a number of weeks. Not a long number of weeks, but in a certain number of weeks. So my fear is you trade Marvin Harrison, you trade Neighbors, you trade Jacobs, and you get Hubbard, and in 3 weeks, he's at maybe 80% of where he is now. Now, to be honest with you, these are things I've heard over the last 2 weeks when they keep talking about Jonathan Brooks playing more, being taken off the PUP list or whatever it is. Now, the issue I have is they just paid Hubbard, though. He just signed an extension, I think it was, not too long ago, like last week, I think, as a matter of fact, for 4 years, I think, as a matter of fact. So I'll just give it to you straight. I think Hubbard has a higher ceiling. He's probably, well, I guess I can look at that. I mean, the way I look at it is they're not really that far apart. Airborne. All right, you'll go after Ryder. Airborne. Thank you for the gift. I don't think that Jacobs and Hubbard are that far apart. Now, then you're saying Nacua for Harrison and Neighbors. probably not a bad trade. Let's just put everything out on the table. Harrison is inconsistent. He can put up good numbers, but he can't string them for many weeks in a row. So it's almost like if you put Harrison in a game, there's a chance that he might get 4 points for you. And you really don't want to do that, because once a wide receiver gets 4 points for you, you got to find, in my mind, my little recipe I keep talking about, you got to find some, 9 more points from other people. Okay, let me just. Yeah, this is his. Okay, let's go over the last 4 weeks. 4 weeks ago, 3.6, 20, 2.4, 13.9. So it's like, which guy are we going to get this week? All right. So I get why you're trading him. Neighbors has not been putting up the points that he put up earlier in the season since he returned. He could put those up again. I'm not really sure what's going on with that offense. I think there's a lot of question marks with that Giants and Jets offense. And I think there's something going on with Tua, because he should have done a lot better last night and he didn't. So there's some offenses that I have a lot of question marks. I don't think CJ Stroud is playing at the level we expect him to play at. I think Caleb Williams in Chicago has dropped down a few notches. That offense is not looking as sharp as it was 3 weeks ago. But anyway, I digress. So Marvin Harrison and Neighbors. What? Nobody's getting Nets tickets if they win a fantasy. Jeez. No, there's no Nets tickets. Why? Does he think that, Nathaniel? Because you've been telling him that. I think trading away Harrison and Neighbors to get Nacua is a good idea, because you're getting 2 inconsistent people for a consistent player. Now, last night, Nacua did get 13 points, right? And Kupp got 11, I think it was. So Nacua is highly consistent. So I think you should be good that way, and you get Hubbard. The only thing about it is you could theoretically trade Harrison and Neighbors for Nacua and keep Jacobs. You could do that. Because I think Hubbard and Jacobs are about the same. My other fear about Hubbard is there is that potential that in 2 to 3 weeks, he's not getting the same number of touches. And what that means is he won't be rushing the ball as much. He might not catch the ball as much. He might not be the number one choice when they're in the red zone or on the 3-yard line or whatever the case is. So it might go backwards that way. But yeah, I don't love the Jacobs and Hubbard and the Hubbard connection and Jonathan Brooks to Hubbard. But I think Harrison and Neighbors for Nacua is a good trade. Boy, I'm getting a lot of updates on my phone. I got to turn off these updates. Okay, Ryder, Tyreek and Herbert for Cooper Kupp and Michael Thomas. Okay, Michael Thomas. Where are we going here? Brian Thomas? Michael Thomas. Okay. You mean Michael Thomas with New Orleans? Michael Thomas for New Orleans is inactive on the coach's decision or not on roster, Ryder. You've hated golf? Oh no. I have a company that sells golf balls. I have really good golf balls, by the way. If you're like a weekend golfer, or if you are just learning the game, or someone that's learning the game, they're perfect. They go far and they go straight. You can pay $5 a golf ball and get a Titleist. Well, once you lose it, you're out $5. These balls don't cost you that much. You can get 12 for $25 roughly. All right, Rob, you will be after Airborne. Rob, I think D. But Ryder, if you're talking about Michael Thomas, he has no value. I have a feeling you're talking about somebody else, or I'm getting confused here. And that's easy. Like, I get confused all the time. Michael Thomas, Jordan Thomas. My guess is you mean Brian Thomas, but Cooper Kupp and Michael Thomas. Tyreek and Herbert for Cooper Kupp. I hated golf too. All right. I think Cooper Kupp and Tyreek is good. I think Herbert, I'm assuming he's probably your backup quarterback. I'm just trying to figure out the Thomas person. Let's see. Oh, Michael Wilson. Oh, Michael Wilson. Okay. Wait, what am I? Did I read that wrong? I did that the other day. Oh my God. Hold on one sec. I just got to prove it to myself. Am I? Oh, Brody has another question. Hey, David, you'll be after Rob. David with 2 eyes. Okay. So Michael Wilson. Okay, let me look that up. Did it say Thomas though? I swear it did. Now I'm Michael Wilson. Okay. So let me just look at this trade real quick. Wait, no, Tyreek and Herbert for Cooper Kupp and Michael Wilson. I have Jared Goff. Oh, Jared Goff too. Okay. Uh-oh. They're going to make me do a puzzle right now. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not, but every time if I'm on long enough, they make me do some stupid puzzle. All right, Ryder. So we have, and I think, Brody, you have another question. Okay, wait. No. Tyreek and Herbert for Cooper Kupp and Michael Wilson. Ryder, my first question is: are you in a really big league? Are there more than 10 teams? Is there a reason that you're, trying to pick up somebody who, is very inconsistent and, put up 3.9 points the week before, had 0 points? Like, in my mind, Michael Wilson doesn't have much value. First of all, in a 10-team league, he's never gotten to 13 points. And as many of you know, because I say it all the time, Rhino 305 golf balls are the best. Those are the golf balls that I own. But he hasn't put up 13 points, and in a 10-team league, you want your wide receivers, running backs, and flex to at least get 13 points. Plus, he's highly inconsistent. He had 11.6 points 3 weeks ago. Then he had 0. Then he had 3.9. I wouldn't even recommend starting him. Okay, unless maybe you're in a 14, 16, 20 team league, Ryder. Like, he has no value. You have Jared Goff. What did Goff do? What were his numbers last week? Because he was not looking good at all. I mean, yeah, Goff is, yeah. Okay, Ryder, we got to talk about this. I might force you to subscribe or something, because we got to talk about your team, because I'm worried about Goff. And if you're trading away Herbert, I would almost say that Herbert's playing better than Goff is. Let me just look him up. I mean, Herbert the last 3 weeks has had 9.76, 19, or not 9, 19.76, 19, 19, 24, 14.76. You look at Goff, he's had 12.8, 9, 15, 18.8. So 1 week, if you round up, he had that 19 points in a 10-team league, Ryder. What I'm saying is Herbert is playing better at quarterback than Goff is. Just because Goff's on maybe a team with a better record and a team that everyone says is the best in the NFC, possibly the best in the NFL. I'm not going to debate that right now, because we could talk about that all night. Maybe one night we'll just have a show like that. So I would not get rid of Herbert and keep Goff. I wouldn't do it. Goff is not playing Herbert's playing better than Goff is right now. And if you really look at it, the Chargers they're playing pretty darn good. They might not be, people might not love them the way they love the Lions, but Herbert's putting up better points than Goff. So I would not get rid of Herbert and keep Goff as my starting quarterback. I wouldn't do that. And Michael Wilson doesn't have any value. I understand Tyreek, and then you get Kupp. Let's just see. Tyreek and Herbert for Cooper. Yeah, I mean, maybe I would go Tyreek and Jared Goff for Kupp and somebody else. I just think, yeah, we got to get you to be a subscriber so you can send me messages and we can talk. So that is that. Yeah, we need to talk more about that. All right. Let's see. All right. That was Ryder. I think Brody had another question. So I'm going to go back to Brody real quick. And then we have Airborne, then Rob, then David. Okay. Gilbert had another question. Pickens for Hall. Yeah, I would do Pickens for Hall. Because you were going to get Pickens, right? I would do that. Hall doesn't have much value, but he would have had 18 without the picks. Yeah, but he had the picks. It doesn't matter. He threw the picks. I mean, look at Mahomes. He has, I think, 12 touchdown passes and 9 picks, and he had a lot of them early in the season. He was putting up 15 points. A lot of people dumped Patrick Mahomes. I did. I had him on my team. I spent a pick, like, I don't know, in the 3rd or 4th round on Patrick Mahomes, and he didn't make it to like my 5th week in fantasy. I understand what you're saying, but you have to remove yourself from the situation and look at the numbers. His numbers, Goff's numbers in the last 3 weeks are not good. If you're in a 10-team league, again, if I seem like I'm scolding you, I don't mean it that way. Hey, Gilbert, I will definitely get to you. I was kind of getting to you. I saw, but what it is you got to look at just the points that they put up in fantasy. You can't say, well, if he did this, he didn't do those things. He didn't get those points. And in the last 3 weeks against a bad Tennessee team, he only had 15.5 points. Against Green Bay, he had 9.6 points. Now, I know Green Bay, and it was in Green Bay. That's a tough place to play, but he didn't even have 10 points, all right? And against Houston, who's not very good, he had 12.8 points. So he's not even coming close. Yes, Brody, I know you have a question. So that's what I'm saying on that. Okay. Gilbert, Pickens for Breece Hall. Yes, you were the one that in your trade, you said, what if I get Pickens? Yeah, I think if you got Pickens for Breece Hall, if you're getting Pickens for Breece Hall, you're winning that. If you're getting Breece Hall and you're trading away, Pickens is like this, Hall is like this. Hall's offense is going down. Pickens' offense is going up. Their quarterbacks are different, and Breece Hall is highly inconsistent compared to Pickens. All right, Ryder says not good. What's going on? Where am I at, Ryder? You don't need Garrett Wilson. Okay. 14-team league. Okay. I'm all over the place. I thought Brody had a question. Okay, no problem, Ryder. Mike. I just think that Michael Wilson doesn't have much value. I wouldn't even worry about picking him up, Ryder, at all. I thought Brody had another question. You had another question, right, Brody? Then I can get to Airborne. Okay, let me see while I'm looking for Brody if I can find Airborne. I've seen David. I have to go through with my thumbs on here. I'm trying to go in the order that you guys, but I did go out of order with Gilbert because I did say Pickens is the better end of that. Rob D. Yes, Rob, I know that you're on the list. I'm sorry. But he would have had 18 without the picks. Yeah, he had the picks, though. That's the problem. Airborne Daisy. They run a lot inside the red zone. Okay, that's not the question. Rob D. Okay, I'm going to go to Rob D because I have it up here. What do you think Lamb's trade value is currently, and would you hang on to him? I wouldn't hang on to him because Dak had season-ending surgery either today or yesterday. So he's done. Cooper Rush is not very good. There we go. There's Brody's other question. Thank you, Brody. I'll get the Brody. And then, but with Rob, I don't think CD has much value. People have asked me the last like 2 days about Lamb. there's a couple things you might have to do, and one of them is kind of shady used car salesman, but you might want to see or figure out who that person in your league who doesn't really follow football very well, doesn't really know football very well, and see if you can trade that owner. Okay. If that doesn't work, or if everybody in your league are like super duper gurus in the NFL, you might have to step it down. Like you might have to go after Puka Nacua. You might have to go after Cooper Kupp. I would say that they're a little step. I mean, CD is an elite wide receiver. They're good. Don't get me wrong. Puka might be a little bit better than Cooper. But you're not going to be able to trade CD for like Justin Jefferson or Nico Collins. Maybe Nico Collins if the owner is sick of him because he was injured for so long. That might be an issue. That might be something that you could do. I'm also thinking maybe a DK Metcalf. Do not try to get DJ Moore with Chicago. He's having a horrible season. You might be able to get Rachaad White, the running back at Tampa Bay. He actually puts up very good points. He catches the ball out of the backfield, so that's always a good thing. Let me see what else. I wouldn't go after Dell. Maybe Garrett Wilson, although I don't think it was you, but someone said they don't want Garrett Wilson. So DK, Neighbors, Mooney, Evans. All right. Okay. I got to Brody, Kincaid or Ertz, since Kincaid might be out and Ertz plays. Let's just see. I'll look that up and then I'll go to Airborne. Kincaid. Oh, Kincaid's questionable. Let's see what it says. Kincaid returned to play, 2 snaps in the Colts, blah, blah, blah. Kincaid who finished up the game with 2 catches. Yeah. The thing about Kincaid is he's highly inconsistent. Now, yes, he does hover around 7 points. The last 2 weeks, he's had 3 points, 5 points, 11, and 6.7. So you round up on the 6.7, and 2 of the last 4 weeks, he's got you around the 7 points that I talk about in a 10-team league that you want your tight end to get. If you're in a 14-team league, 6 points, 5 points aren't that bad. But you got to make sure that he plays. The other guy was Ertz, right? Let me look him up. And Kincaid goes against Kansas City, but Kansas City is not very tough. Kansas City's 19th against tight ends. All right. I'm just from a matchup standpoint. Let's look at Ertz real quick. Yeah, Ertz 5-1, 11, 12. Oy. The 5 and the 1 kill me. Philadelphia against tight ends. Philadelphia is number 2 against tight ends. So actually the better matchup would be Kincaid if he can play, because Kansas City is 19th. Philadelphia is number 2 against tight ends. Basically what that is the average number of points they give up per game. So Kincaid actually has a favorable matchup, but you'll have to keep checking the injury report to see if he can even go. All right, Airborne was right. If you had to trade one away, who would it be? DK, Neighbors, Mooney, Evans. Okay, well, DK is just, I think he's going to play. He might still be listed as questionable. I'll look that up right now, but he's coming back from an injury. And I don't know, since it's only, Tuesday, I'm not sure if he's going to play. He's still listed as questionable, so but he's going to practice on Wednesday, so that's a good sign. But right now, if you traded DK like today or tomorrow, he's not going to get you a lot of value because he's been hurt. He's a good player, but his last 3 games, he had 17.9, 6, 5.5, 11.9. Well, that's 4 games. He did have 23 points and 18 points, and then he kind of, I think, Seattle and Geno Smith were playing really well, and then they weren't, and you could see it in DK Metcalf's output. Although his last game against Atlanta, he had 17.9 points. So, truthfully speaking, in his last 4 games, he's only gone over 13 points once out of 4 times. I just worry about his value. Neighbors, hey, Adam, thank you. You will be after David with 2 eyes. So DK could have some value. Neighbors might have some name recognition because earlier in the year he was getting 20 points. Now he can't even get 10. Okay, let me just start a new list here. David, Adam, Xavier. David, Adam, Xavier. So it'll be David, Adam, Xavier after I get done with Airborne. Mooney and Evans. Now, Evans has been hurt, so you're not going to have any value for him. I mean, you'll have some, but, trading away an injured player, I don't always recommend trading for an injured player because you don't know exactly, how he's going to come back, what's he going to be, those kinds of things. Darnell Mooney has value, and he's been consistent. The last 3 weeks, he's had 16.6, 17, and 12. 12's a little bit low, but, 2 of those last 3 weeks, he's gotten over that 13-point mark for a 10-team league. So the way I look at it, probably the 2 players with the most value right now, and some could argue with Neighbors because he was so good at the beginning of the season, but he's not doing as well now. But I think Mooney has some value. I think DK has some value. So if you wanted to trade one of them away, you should be able to get, you could get maybe for Mooney, maybe for DK, maybe you get like a Josh Jacobs if you were looking for a running back. I don't know what you're looking for, but you're saying you want to trade only one away. So you're probably trading one for one something else. I don't know that someone is going to, trade you Mooney. Maybe you can trade Mooney for like Drake London, but that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. But maybe you trade Mooney for Cortland Sutton, maybe. Ladd McConkey, I don't like trading for because he's inconsistent. He'll have 20 points and then he'll have 7 points. DK has value. Mooney has value. I don't think Evans has value because he's injured. Neighbors is not putting up points. DK is coming back from an injury. And if you trade him away, maybe he'll go gangbusters. I think, if anything, you could probably get good value for Mooney right now. He's had some good games while Drake London was injured, so that should sort of propel him when it comes to value. So you could probably get the most for Mooney right now if somebody really follows the NFL, that is. Not somebody who just, they might think Neighbors because everybody was talking about him from the start of the season till now, but, for the first 4 weeks, they were talking about him. But yeah, I would say try to get Mooney because he has the most value right now. He's put up 3 pretty good weeks. He had 12.1, but that's still a pretty good week. So, all right, Airborne. I hope I helped you on that one. But yeah, Mooney. Let's see here. I'm looking for David, Adam, and Xavier. I see Xavier. Where's David and Adam? Is Higgins playing? Good question. Let's look that up. He's still questionable. T. Higgins is day-to-day heading into the week. This is from Monday. I don't have anything newer. Higgins and left tackle are blah, 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 blah. But Taylor said we shouldn't read too much. Okay, wait. Who also called day-to-day, both participated in walkthroughs on Monday, but Taylor said we shouldn't read too much into that. If Higgins is truly day-to-day, then it sounds like he'll have a chance to suit up in week 11 against the Chargers. That said, we wouldn't read too much into his availability until we get a look at Wednesday's injury report. So they're saying look at Wednesday's injury report, see if he's on it, and then you're going to have to do like tomorrow. They might hold him out of practice. He might have a full practice, and he might be limited. If he has a full practice, he's probably going to play. If he's limited, it's 50-50. If he doesn't practice, it might be 40-60. Then you'll have to wait for Thursday. Does he play? Is he limited? Is he held out? I mean, some of these guys, you don't really know anything till Friday. And then they even say, oh, you won't know until 90 minutes before kickoff on I'm just making sure he plays Sunday. On Sunday, yeah, well, they have the night game. Oh, yeah, the Chargers and the Bengals have the night game, so you'll have to make up your mind much earlier than that. So, yeah, let's just see how it is. Like, That's a good reason to follow me. Let me just reset real quick. Follow me on TikTok. Subscribe to me on YouTube. I have a lot of people that have gifted me, so I'm a little behind. I know that. I apologize for that. But I really do think that following me is good. That way you get invited on TikTok when I'm live. I go live pretty much every day, but Sunday. Sometimes on Fridays they don't go because I don't have much of a life. But I go live Monday through Thursday, sometimes Friday, Saturdays. I don't know, usually early afternoon, Central Time, let's just say. But yeah, it looks like Higgins is still very, 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 very much in the air. All right, now I'm looking for David and Xavier. David would be first if I can find I keep seeing Xavier. I'm not seeing David. Where is Xavier? Or where's David, rather? Airborne, if you had to take one. Airborne, thank you very much for the rose. Let me just look up David. If I don't see David, I might jump to Xavier. Wait, Adam has Sutton, Tillman, A. Jones. Who would you play? Adam has another question. Sutton, Tillman, A. Jones. Well, A. Jones has not been putting up good points in fantasy. I'm just going to go to this real quick. Tillman has New Orleans. That's a good matchup. And he's had 14, 25, 16 points his last 3 games. And that was against the Chargers. In that last game, the Chargers are pretty good against wide receivers. I say that. Yeah, they're 18 out of 32. So they're not great. They're middling, let's say. Where did he go? So I would go, well, that's a vote for Tillman. Let me see Sutton real quick. I looked him up earlier tonight, and all of a sudden I'm drawing a total blank. Sutton goes up against Atlanta. Atlanta, what did I say? I think they're better than I thought. Atlanta against wide receivers. Oh, they're 27th. So the best matchup is actually Sutton. He has the easiest, let's put it this way, the most favorable matchup is with Sutton. And, Bo Nix throwing the Sutton. So if you have to pick one, I would go Sutton here. Obviously, Nix and Sutton are in sync. That's the go-to guy there in Denver. So I think that he will put up a good game. All right, David and Xavier. Okay, Airborne. Follow-up is Mooney and Bucky for Lamar, giving up too much. Mooney and Bucky for Lamar. No. Lamar Jackson? You're giving up Mooney and Bucky for Lamar? Yeah, if you're okay, Airborne, if you're giving Mooney and Bucky and you're getting Lamar Jackson, I would do that deal in a heartbeat. Okay? Goff is not putting up good numbers. Lamar puts up 20 to 25 points easy on is a minimum every week. Lamar puts it up. So I would Mooney and Bucky for Lamar. If you're getting Lamar, I'd make that trade as soon as I could. Seriously, you'll be so happy when you do. All right. David and Xavier. Whoever I find now will go next. Xavier, you're lagging a bit, brother. Okay, I'm always lagging, aren't I? Where's Xavier? David or Xavier? Come on. Xavier, another rose. Xavier, I just got the pin. Okay, just traded CD and Ridley for Puka and Adams. Did I lose the trade? No, you didn't lose the trade because CD has virtually no value right now because Dak is out for the rest of the season. Puka is a top receiver. He might not be elite the way I think of Jefferson. Well, CD Lamb last year at least. Jefferson, Nico Collins. I'm missing somebody, and that's making me. I'm annoyed by that. But yeah, I mean, I think getting Puka for CD and Ridley. Let me look up Ridley though, real quick. I can tell you the other two, though. Ridley. Yeah. Okay. You might be saying that because Ridley had a big week last week, but he's very inconsistent, Ridley. Okay. So CD doesn't have value. Ridley's very inconsistent. Puka is very consistent. Adams is not consistent. He's had one good week in the 3 weeks he's been with the Jets. So I think you won because you got Puka for CD and Ridley in my mind, and CD is not going to have much value, and Ridley is very inconsistent to the point where I would be worried if I had to start him. Like I would worry about how many points Ridley's really going to get me, because in the last 4 weeks, well, let's go back 5 weeks. 5 weeks ago against Indianapolis, he was targeted 8 times. He had 0 catches, 0.9, 5.7, 17.6. That's good. 9.8. That's average. 22.9. That's A++. So in the last 5 weeks, he's only gone over 13 points, and that's sort of my recipe, my formula, if you will, where if you're in a 10-team fantasy league, you want your wide receivers and running backs and flex to get you a minimum of 13 points, and he only did it 2 of the last 5 weeks. I think you're doing great. I think Puka continually, unless he punches somebody, but Puka puts up good numbers when he's not getting thrown out of games. So I think it's a tremendous trade. I worry if you'll even have Adams on your roster in 3 weeks because number one, he is inconsistent with his new team, and his new team, their offense looks really, really bad. Rodgers has bad games. Breece Hall, the running back, has bad games. Obviously Adams has only had one good game since he got there. They're not very good. So I could even see where in 2 or 3 weeks you might be asking me, hey, do I even, should I, try to pick somebody up for Adams, or what trade value does Adams have? That kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it's a good trade. I think you won the trade, actually. All right. I'm still looking for David. Xavier, thank you. I'm not seeing David. I think we're actually all caught up. Boy, that was. Yeah, wow. Oh my God. Xavier, thanks as always, brother. That's why you're the best. Thank you, Xavier. Appreciate your support too. Hey, Amanda Rodriguez is here. Woo woo! One of my subscribers, and I think she's the one that always gives me the donuts, right? Oh, I love the donuts. Amanda's here. All right. Amanda's question is, should I try and trade Hill? Who do you think I could get for him? Well, Hill really hasn't put up good points. I would say that, you're not going to be able to get a lot for him. What you might want to do, well, I take that back. If there's somebody in your league that doesn't follow the NFL, or maybe isn't as big of a sports fan, maybe as you are, or other people in the league, you might want to target that person, because what happens sometimes is people trade the brand, and they'll say, "Oh, Tyreek Hill, I know he's a great wide receiver. Yes, I would love to make that trade." And they don't follow the sport. They trade a brand, like, "Oh, Tyreek is like, top of the line kind of brand." Well, we all know that this year he's not having the season. And again, I'm going to say it for like the 8th time. Something's wrong with their offense, and the only thing I can figure is, or one of my suspicions, not saying it's the truth, one of my suspicions is Tua's not quite right. I mean, they're just not putting up good numbers. On paper last night, they should have, Tua and Tyreek should have had big games. They should have had big games, and they didn't. And I'm shocked by that. Okay. To the point where against quarterbacks, the Rams were, ranked 25th worst. Against wide receivers, 27th worst. They should have had a big game, and they didn't. And so, okay. So you can do a number of things here. You could think about, finding someone, as I just said, finding someone who might not follow the sport the way you do, or know as much about the sport as you do, There's always one or two of those people in fantasy, especially as you get a bigger and bigger league. So they think, oh my God, I'm getting Tyreek Hill. Yes, I'll take that trade. Well, Tyreek's not Tyreek of last year. All right. Another way to look at it is you could possibly package up Hill. Let's say that you need a running back. You could package up like Hill. I'm just making this up. Hill with like Josh Jacobs with Green Bay. And you could try to get maybe Joe Mixon, or maybe you stretch it a little bit. Well, not stretch it, maybe Kyron Williams, or you could stretch it and say Saquon Barkley or Bijan Robinson. You could put Hill with, or maybe you want to trade Hill and somebody else that might be on your bench, two wide receivers for a really good wide receiver. Maybe it's like you have Hill and, let's just say, Tank Dell, and you can put Hill and Dell together, and you're going to trade and try to get Nico Collins. So it's a total upgrade for you. Or, as I said, Hill and a running back for a better running back. You could do that. You could kind of use him as the loose change to get you the $10. The person, one player with Tyreek Hill gives you the $10 you need to purchase the other player, kind of, look at it like that, like you have 750, but you need 250. And so you dump Hill in there and then you get that better player. So you could do that. Now, Hill straight up for anybody who knows football, you'll have to go to somebody who likes Hill, somebody that likes the Dolphins to a certain extent. You could possibly go after some very inconsistent wide receivers. Brian Thomas, although he was somewhat consistent, but with Trevor Lawrence out, he's not going to put up great numbers. You could possibly maybe go after a Ladd McConkey. I know a lot of times people talk about and ask me about Ladd McConkey, and he puts up some big numbers, 20s and things like that. But then he also has like a week under 10 points, which we don't want. So you could do that straight up. You could maybe try and trade. Here's a name I keep coming up because he's kind of under the radar, Rachaad White with Tampa Bay. Now, I don't know when Evans comes back how much value he'll have, but in the short term, he catches the ball out of the backfield and puts up really good numbers. So you could maybe look at Hill, or you could look at Rachaad White in that way too, Amanda. So that's another way to look at it. So and Amanda, you're a subscriber, so feel free to send me a DM if you haven't already. I know I DM with a lot of people because I started doing that, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm inundated now. I got to keep it to, I got to get, go to the subscribers first, in the chats like this, in the live streams, and then also with the DMs. So just send me something, Amanda, and we can, I can help with any other questions as well. So, all right. Well, let's see. What do we have? We have just a few people on YouTube. I hope I helped with Amanda. And if I didn't, just let me know, and I'll be, in the DMs or even in this chat. All right. So where we're at now is I believe we're all caught up on DMs and questions. Oh, here we go. Hill and Brees for Barkley. Yeah, you could try that. Definitely. Hill and Brees for Barkley. Yes, you could try that. Now, between you and me, Amanda, you and I both kind of know that Hill and Brees are not quite even putting up 13 or 14 points, but someone might take it based on the names. I mean, I think Brees Hall is a really good player, but his numbers don't show that. Same thing with Hill. So yeah, you could definitely try that. And if for some reason Barkley, they turn you down, you could then go. You could maybe try Bijan. You could maybe try Derrick Henry, and then after that, something that might be a little more realistic would be because that would be like if the other owner, whoever that might be, accepted this and you got Saquon Barkley, that you did great. I mean, that is a great trade. I mean, you are you would get like the gold star for that trade. But then you might move down and maybe try Kyron Williams, that way. He's not quite on the Barkley level and the Derrick Henry and Bijan level. So yeah, it's a good idea though. All right, we're all caught up on gifting. So if you want to go to the front of the line, should I hold him until they play the Raiders? Well, I mean, I guess you could, but I just wouldn't. You mean hold Hill? I don't know. I would try to either trade him, package him up, and get something for him now, and maybe upgrade at a position. That's the way I would look at it. I mean, if you held Tyreek, you could make the argument that I'm going to hold Tyreek and hope that the offense in like 2 weeks turns around. Now, the one thing to remember, I don't know what league you're in. I know there's someone out there. I don't think he was here tonight. Maybe he was, but I had so many gifters that I was worried about that getting their answers for them. Dylan told me that in his league, November 16th is a trade deadline. Like that's it. So know when your trade deadline is with this as well, Amanda. That's something that you guys should find out about your leagues. It was kind of a good point that Dylan had. Like, hey, this is the trade deadline. I need to make this move soon. The other thing to think about too is, and I know that you guys probably do this, but look at your kicker, look at your defense, look at your players, because yes, week 11 there's a lot of buys, week 12 there's a lot of buys, week 14 there's a lot of buys. So if you only have one kicker now, or you only have one defense, a lot of times you dwindle that down throughout the season to get a wide receiver, get a second or third quarterback, sometimes whatever it might be. Know when their buys are, because it could sort of backfire where all of a sudden you're like freaking out because you don't have a kicker for this weekend, and you got to wait for the waiver wire, and then maybe he'll be a free agent, I guess, but you don't want to get beat out by somebody else. So just know that week 12, well, obviously week 11 coming up, there's a lot of buys. Week 12 coming up, there's a lot of buys, and week 14. So make sure you see when the buys are coming up, because I even noticed that I have Cade Otton, and he has a buy this week. So I'm actually putting a claim on Andrews in one of my leagues. I can't believe he's not picked up, but it's a smaller league, so it's kind of nice. I was able to fill in a really solid player, or hopefully, knock on wood, I'll get that waiver claim. All right, let's see. But thank you, Amanda, very, very much. All right, so we're all caught up on gifting. I am going to go to Sebas. I think you've gifted in the past. Brian Robinson Jr. and Cedric Tillman for Mike Evans. I like the direction Cedric Tillman's going. I don't love Cleveland. Like, I don't think, oh my God, that's a solid, just because, Jameis Winston did sort of have a dog. What was it, a week or two ago? Brian Robinson's been injured. That's the other thing. If you need a running back, look at Austin Eckler, because there's a good chance Brian Robinson Jr. isn't going to play again this week. I was just looking at that this morning. Okay, so you're saying Brian Robinson and Cedric Tillman for Mike Evans. Brian Robinson is relatively consistent with his points, and he puts up pretty decent points when he's healthy, obviously. Unlike him right now. But, he had 16, 14, 10, 18, 13. Then he didn't play. Then he had 13. Then he had 8. I think he might have gotten injured in that game. And he sat out the last 2 weeks. So he's relatively consistent, doesn't have a high ceiling. Okay. Cedric Tillman do I have him someplace? Yeah. Tillman in the last 3 weeks has had 14, 25, 16. He's obviously the go-to guy for Cleveland right now when it comes to wide receivers, and with Jameis Winston. So they're, in my mind, like that middle of the road wide receiver running back. Solid, not great. They're not at another level. And you could make the argument that in the last 3 weeks, if it keeps up, Cedric Tillman he's not necessarily an elite running back or elite wide receiver. He could be, just below someone like Justin Jefferson, Nico Collins. Why do I keep blanking on the other names? God, what is going on with me tonight? Well, CD, but he's not going to have any value. For Mike Evans, my only fear is really, if you looked at Mike Evans' numbers, Sebas, if you look at his numbers, now you assume that he won't have competition, obviously, because Godwin's not around. But the other, okay, he's listed as out. Evans hamstring said he's optimistic that he'll be available to play week 12 against the Giants on November 24th. Huh? Oh, they have a bye this week. Okay, so Evans in the short term, Sebas wouldn't even be able to play. All right. So he's got a bye. Just so you know, it's a short term thing. But Evans, here's Evans 25, 20, and then 5, 2, 19, 20, and then 4, and then 9. Now, you could think that, when he comes back and he's the number one because Godwin isn't going to play the rest of the year, that he could put up, 15 points almost week after week. He hasn't done that, but that was with a different sort of offense. A much different offense, actually. Cade Otton had not gotten into the fray yet, and they weren't using Rachaad White exactly the way they're using him now. So there was some big differences there. So the way I look at it is, I don't know that Evans is an elite wide receiver. If you were trading Brian Robinson and Cedric Tillman for Nico Collins, I could get it. If you were trading him for St. Brown, I could get it. Justin Jefferson, maybe. I mean, I could see where somebody might balk at Cedric Tillman because he plays for the Browns, but he has good numbers. I could see Brian Robinson and Cedric Tillman for A.J. Brown. Okay. I just don't know. There's an unknown here. Is Mike Evans going to return, and can he consistently put up, 13 to 14 points every week now that Godwin's not there? I don't know. And I know that that's a total ridiculous answer, but it's an unknown. Okay. You would think that he would get a lot of the touches, but then targets, but then you also have to figure that he will be guarded number one, and there is no Godwin to worry about too. Okay. You worry about Mike Evans, and Otton is a tight end. They have Jalen McMillan, but he has not done much in the last couple of weeks at all. I think he was hurt, actually. They have Rachaad White catching from the backfield. They have Bucky Irving, who runs and he catches a little bit. I worry about Mike. I'm worried about this trade for now. Sebas, you might be trading two people on your bench for Mike Evans. I still don't know that. I'm not sold that Mike Evans is going to come back and put up 13 points every week. He may be inconsistent like he is now. Hey, X is next. Thank you, X. So, Sebas, I don't love that trade because of the unknown with Evans, and given that he would be like the strong number one, he doesn't have like Godwin to sort of help him not be so defended, if you will. That worries me, actually. But if you were trading Robinson and Tillman, like I said, even A.J. Brown, yeah, you could try Justin Jefferson, you could try Nico Collins. CeeDee Lamb's not going to put up any points. He has no value right now, unless, the trade deadline's over. I could see where you might go with trade those two for maybe St. Brown, but he hasn't had great weeks the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I think it's a tough one. I would not make that move, though, Sebas. All right, X is up. Let's see. X followed. X sent lightning bolts. Traded CD, Chase Brown, White for Jefferson and Pollard. I still have Barkley and Jacobs. Okay, CD doesn't have any value because Dak's out the rest of the season. Chase Brown, I haven't looked him up in a while. I wonder why that is. There was a couple weeks there where that's all people wanted to talk about, it seemed like. But I mean, he's had the last 5 weeks. I mean, he's relatively consistent now that they have an offense. You go back 5 weeks, it's 13, 6.3. That's not very good. 10, you want higher than that. You want, like I said, in a 10-team league, you want to get 13 points. 24, 17.9. So he's putting up. He really put up. He put up 17.9 against Baltimore. And Baltimore's very, very tough, or was up until then, against running backs. He goes against the Chargers this week. I don't know. I'm just looking this up. You traded those guys for White. You got Jefferson. Okay, Rachaad White. The thing about White is he may lose. Okay, so CD doesn't have much value. Chase Brown has value. I see that as continuing. And they even traded for, oh gosh, everybody talked about him last week. Helbert. The Bengals got some backup running back, but everybody wanted to know, everybody was asking me about him last week, but I said he's just going to relieve Chase. He's not going to take over the running back position, and it's not like Chase is injured. And they proved that over the weekend. Now, the one thing I'll say, and here's why I think this is a great trade, X. Okay, so CD doesn't have value. I think Brown will have value the rest of the season. The thing about White, and you're talking about Rachaad White, is he's putting up good points now, but when Evans comes back, his role might change a little bit. Okay, they won't need him out of the backfield as much. They'll have White in the fold, So that may be tweaked a little bit. And to be quite honest with you, Tampa Bay they're like the best, worst team in the NFL right now. And I hate to say it, I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan this year, but they put up a fight in every game they're in, but they don't win a lot of games. But getting Jefferson, you can stick him in, and Pollard is having a good year. Another bad decision by Dallas getting rid of him. But let me just look up Pollard real quick. I know Jefferson is, gives you teen points minimum every week. So that's always a good thing. Pollard, for a bad Tennessee team, is having a good year. The last 4 weeks, he's had 8, 16, 13, 7.5. Then you go back to Indianapolis, he has 16. He plays Minnesota, so in the short term, Minnesota's number 4 against running backs. They're the 4th toughest team against running backs. So he may have, I don't know, 10 or 11 points, but where did he go? Where did I put him? But then they have Houston, Washington, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Jacksonville. He has a favorable schedule moving forward. So he should get you consistently in the teens as well. So, yeah, I mean, you could be looking at Pollard probably at some point as your flex, starting Jefferson as a wide receiver and then Pollard as your flex, with Barkley and Jacobs as the other running backs. So, yeah, I think it's a good trade. I think you took advantage of the situation in the right way, and you made a great trade. Yeah. So good job, and thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. All right. It's a 12-man. Oh, it's a 12-man. Well, then it's even better, dude. X, that's even better. That's if it's a 12-man, you're doing really well, because then when Pollard puts up, an 8 spot or something like that, it's not quite as bad. I mean, you'd hope for him to get 10, not 8, but it's not nearly as bad. So, okay, let's do a quick reset. We don't have many people on YouTube, but we have a few people here on TikTok. The numbers tonight didn't get huge at any point, but we did get a lot of gifters, so that's awesome. I want to give a shout out to Amanda Rodriguez, to J96 and Sweatshirts, my group of subscribers, and I hope to grow that group over the next few weeks. Also to all the gifters, David, Adam, Xavier, X. Let's see, Gilbert, Beto, Mike, John, Brody, Ryder, Airborne, Rob, David, did I say Josh, Colin? Okay. So basically what I'm saying, though, well, I'm not saying it now, but what I'd like is, if you're on TikTok, hit that like button. We have, I can't see it. Looks like 5,900, could be 3,900. That's awesome. But don't forget to follow, because that way I'm on live, and I go live pretty consistently 6 out of 7 days, Monday through Thursday, sometimes Friday. I go live Saturdays early afternoon, and then I may or may not go live on Sundays. Sometimes when they have those European games, I'll watch the game, and then I'll watch, the games that come up after that, and I just won't even go live. And I know everyone's going live at that point, but sometimes I do. So I'm going to head out right now. I've been on for maybe close to 2 hours, and I'm kind of losing my voice. I'm getting hungry. But anyway, don't forget to hit that follow, and I will talk to you all tomorrow night. I'll be on live again tomorrow and Thursday. So talk to you then. Thank you very much.